Opening week is already delivering some shockwaves. Aces struggled from Paul Skeens to Ranger Suarez, while Jason Heyward closes the book on a long and successful 16-year career. We're going to break it down for you on the next Back to the Bullpen.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, and I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat a low in the way you can't hit it. Know you want to start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walk it back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's over, might as well put them back to the bullpen, oh yeah.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the bullpen. It is myself, Brett Chansey, and the old 2-9er there, Mike Stanton, the 19-year Major League veteran. Look, we've been on the mic or in front of a camera for 2 decades. Who would have thought? We have come so far. But Mike,
and you're making us feel old.
Well, you know
making
what?
Us sound old.
I'm just letting the people know that we know what the hell we're talking about, man.
We've been doing this for a little while.
Just for a little while. But, you know, this week, we have seen some fun baseball. We talked about home runs on the last show, the Murakami miracle kind of thing, you know, guys that are on pace to get 162 home runs. I think there's some players on pace to have like 500 walks. I mean, we're having this magnanimous year. But we're going to be talking about aces struggling early. You know, when do fan bases need to be concerned about their ace pitcher? And you being a former big league pitcher, I think you probably have something to say about that. And look, down in Houston, Lance McCullers Jr. just lit up the scoreboard with zeros and a phenomenal performance, something that the Astros haven't seen even from their ace Hunter Brown in their first time through the rotation. But we lead it off with Jason Heyward retiring after 16 seasons. Mike, this guy was a phenomenal player, played for the Braves, the Cardinals, the Cubs, the Dodgers, the Astros, and the Padres over an 1,824-game career. Let's talk about Jason Heyward a little bit.
Yeah, came up with Atlanta. Looked like he was going to be just a perennial all-star. He got second in the Rookie of the Year that year in 2010. Had a tremendous season. Had some very good seasons with Atlanta. Signed the long-term deal with Chicago. Things really didn't work out as well in Chicago as everyone thought it might. He did have a lot to do with the World Series that the Cubs won. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. But listen, very good player. You know, not the best of offensive players. He was a big dude, kind of have a long swing. There were times that, you know, velocity could beat him. He was a elite defensive player, though. In the right field, he could throw, he could run, he could catch, he could do everything that you needed to do. And he was a tremendous team leader. Never really heard anyone say anything bad, only positive things about his leadership qualities in the clubhouse, in the dugout. 16 seasons Jason Heyward played in the big leagues. Congratulations. I mean, just a long career that he played very well with a lot of success. So, you know, you have to look back at Jason Heyward. You can say, even though maybe there were some things that he didn't do the best, he was always a hustle guy. He was always running things out. He did everything right. And congratulations on a very good career.
Well, you know, you don't last 16 years in the big leagues and do it just because you're mediocre, or you do it because maybe there's one facet of your game that really helps a team. I mean, the 5 Gold Gloves in 2014, 2012, 2015, 2016, and 2017. Also in 2014, the Wilson overall Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
You know,
So what they would call that now, he would be the platinum gold.
There you go, platinum gold glove winner. Thank you. I was searching for that connection there,
right?
And you got me there to it. But whether it was jumping, whether it was running, his instincts were phenomenal. And I like how you mentioned how he was off the field. And again, we'll get to his importance with that Cubs team. But, you know, players oftentimes will have legacy, and even some of the best players that will play on a diamond that are Hall of Fame caliber won't have the best legacies with the way people felt like they were treated, with the way that they maybe treated teammates, or they every time they were in the locker room, maybe they cause issues. And Jason Heyward was never that guy. And
No.
I remember when he even came to Houston. I mean, since we're Houston based, when he came to Houston, heard a lot of great things about him in the clubhouse. And that was one of the things that would draw a team to him.
Sure.
Is we got to have this guy around. He's got the intangibles, and he also has the skill.
Well, listen, it's one thing to say, he's a nice guy. He doesn't cause any problems. It's another thing to say this guy was a true leader. And that's what Jason, really from the day he came up with Atlanta, he was their first round pick in 2007, 14th overall in the 2007 MLB June amateur draft. Came out of Georgia, so he was a hometown boy. And like I said, had some great years there in Atlanta. And then, became a free agent and moved on, and then moved around and had a very solid career. But I think he's as known as much for a situation that happened off the field as he was on the field. And it was the Cubs. If you remember, there was a rain delay, and they had a players only meeting, and apparently Jason Heyward, not exactly sure what he said, but he stood up, he made a speech. I don't know if it was a rah-rah speech, it was 1-1 for the Gipper, whatever it was. It seemed to work, because when they came out of that rain delay, they looked like a different team, and they ended up winning the World Series. And that rain delay was during the World Series.
Yeah, exactly. That ended a 108-year drought. So there are some things that are very famous in Cubs history, and a lot of times it has to deal with things that are negative. It has to deal with curses and things happening on the side of the field. I won't even mention names, but yeah, Jason Heyward played a key role. And when you are going after that World Series title, sometimes it is the small things,
Sure.
These teams will, I heard a story from Mauricio Dubon. He told me that in 2022, when the Astros were playing the Philadelphia Phillies, and after the game where Lance McCullers, who we'll talk about in the second segment, gave up 5 home runs, he said that Michael Brantley got the team gathered in the batting cages. And he said, gave one of the most inspirational speeches I've ever heard. And he said, had Michael Brantley not been there in the clubhouse, the Phillies probably would have ended up beating us. And that was a huge revelation to hear from a player who was on that team. And although we may not know all the words that were said, it takes a leader of men sometimes to wake everybody up and get everybody in a different place, because baseball is mental as much as it is physical.
Oh, actually, it's even more mental. Everything. What was Yogi's 90% of the game is half was it is a half mental, whatever it was Yogi said. It was definitely, actually the people here in Houston do know about Yogi. Yogi managed for them for a little, or coached with them for a little while, the Yogiisms. But that's a great analogy you just gave with Michael Brantley, because they're kind of the same type players, not really overly boisterous, but when they did talk, you better listen, because they had something to say. And that conversation that Michael Brantley had with the whole team, very similar to what Jason Heyward did with the Cubs to win that first World Series, to get everybody focused back on what you're trying to do instead of thinking about what's happened in the past. Let's get back in the present. Let's go out there and just play the game that we've known how to play all of our lives. And that turned the Cubs around and got that first title in over a century.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, there's a quote right there. If you're looking at the screen, if you're listening, I'll go ahead and read it. Baseball is 90% mental. The other half is physical.
There it is. There it is. I butchered it, but you pulled it up. Thank you.
You know, what's funny is one of my, because I collect baseball autographs and things like that. When I was a kid, I got the first program that Craig Biggio was on. I got him to sign it. I got him to sign it at the Astrodome. And I'm looking at it right now as we record, and it's Craig Biggio sitting in a school desk and Yogi Berra standing next to him, pointing to a board that says lesson 1, throw runners out. And it's an
that
awesome.
was back when Craig was a catcher.
Yeah. It's an awesome piece of history. But you know what we're going to do this next segment? We are going to talk about Lance McCullers Jr. Because I think that I believe you and I had the discussion before the show. This is a significant happening for someone who hasn't had success in a very long time. Everybody, and thank you all for tuning in to Locked On Astros. And I want to talk to you about our friends at Robinhood. Why? Because Robinhood is where it is at. It is a place where you can go and use your sports knowledge. Why? Because markets move as you move, as the markets move. So what if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not just you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when the momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had the dynamic way to apply that knowledge. So now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and it's not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. Also, we want to tell you about our friends at Game Time. Game Time is an amazing app. I love this app. I use it all the time. And I don't just come by these sponsorships and tell you that I use something that I don't use, because I have been walking up to the stadium at Dyken Park. I've been walking up to the stadium at Globe Life Field, and I've purchased a ticket right there, right before the game. Two taps and I'm in. And if you've never downloaded the Game Time app, you can do so and use the code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. It takes the guessing out of buying tickets. They give you seat views. There's also zone deals where you pick the zone, they pick the seat. And there's no surprise fees when you check out with Game Time. So download the Game Time app today. Use the code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Remember, terms apply. What time is it? It's game time. And again, make sure that you become an everydayer. The Everydayer Club is here for you. Baseball is finally back. Let's celebrate. I'm giving you a chance to get a full month of the Everydayer Club for free. Why? Well, because we value you and we want you to use the code FINALLY. You'll unlock every episode ad-free, get access to our favorite listener group chat. Tap the link in the show notes and use the code FINALLY to claim your free month today. So, Mike, let's get into it. Tonight, this is not a storyline that I thought that we would be talking about today on the games that were played last night. I was thinking, we're gonna talk about maybe Ranger Suarez, because Ranger Suarez has his first game, his first big game in a Red Sox uniform, and the Astros have kind of been down in Houston. Or maybe we'll get to guys like Justin Verlander later who pitched for the Tigers. But the surprise story, I think, of the night has to be Lance McCullers Jr.
Could be.
I mean, this was a huge revelation and a huge victory, I think, not only for the Astros, but for Lance McCullers as a pitcher.
The interesting thing about this was, and Lance ended up having a great spring, and he carried over into the start tonight, his first start, pitching in the 5-hole in the rotation for the Astros. And the Astros starters have not been great so far this season. Yes, they've only played 4 games prior to today, but he had a presser early in spring training that was a very weird press conference. And the reason it was weird because he was sounding like he was done. He was talking about how he's a father, a husband and a father, and he's got other interests, and he's okay with all that if things don't work out. And I actually had several conversations with other former players, and like, dude, that sounds like he was about to hang him up. I thought he had a setback with his arm again. Well, it turns out it didn't. And he ended up having a great spring training, earned the 5th spot in the lineup, in the rotation. And because he went in, he was definitely a question mark. The Astros couldn't have had any idea that they were going to get anything out of him at all, just because they hadn't been able to get anything out of him. And then he goes out tonight and just shoves.
Well, I described it multiple times as a eulogy for his career.
Right. It seemed like it.
It sounded like he was at a funeral for his own career. It sounded, and the reason why I say that is because he has been, if you followed the Astros, of course, there are a lot of fan bases who follow them because they can't stand them. There are a lot of fan bases that follow them because they've played them in the playoffs many times and, been unsuccessful. The Astros have had one gotten over on them several times, the Rangers, the Nationals, the Braves, the Red Sox. But the Astros have had their fair share. But right. Lance was a part of that first 2017 team. And whatever controversy that you feel is attached to it or whatever, he was a key part of that. And he's always been a firebrand. He's always played with his hair on fire, and he hasn't been able to. I mean, it's been so long that his last outing that was this long, September 21st, 2022 at Tampa. And Mike, speak to this from a pitcher's perspective. And I know you didn't deal with a ton of injuries, right, through your career, like some people do. But what is the mental grind like when you're having to constantly come back physically year after year, and it seems to never go your way?
Well, it can't be anything other than demoralizing. I mean, it has to just, weigh on you physically. It weighs on you mentally. And there were, and Lance has even said it, there were times he thought many times that he was done. And, he credited his wife and his family to push him forward, to go ahead and do the rehab, do the work you need to do to get back on the field. And, if you get back on the field and things fall apart, okay, that's fine. But you don't want to leave any question, if you do retire, that that there was still more in the tank, that you emptied everything out. And tonight, last night, he was just outstanding. He faced the minimum through 6 innings. I mean, he was moving the ball around. Fastball was 93, 94 miles an hour. Had the cutter, had the knuckle curve, had everything working. The things that I noticed from this game was, first, it looked like he had lost, 15, 20 pounds. I mean, he looked very lean. Now, I'm not saying because he was never fat, but he was a gym rat. He was kind of jacked, through a lot of his career. It looked like he had kind of had a little bit of a change of heart in what his body should look like. And tonight he looked very lean. I thought his delivery was clean. You could still tell it was Lance McCullers Jr., but his tempo was nice and slow. He wasn't jumping at the plate. He had good break on good speed differential on his breaking ball. He moved everything around. He was really outstanding. To tell you the truth, this might have been the best I've seen Lance McCullers maybe in his career. I mean, that's how
he was.
It's not because he threw 6 shutout and he gave up 1 in the 7th. I was a little surprised they let him throw 96 pitches and work his way out of the 7th inning. But it's not because of the numbers he put up, but just what I saw from him. How he was handling himself, how he was moving the ball around. He had much better command of his fastball tonight than he usually does. Or he has in the past. So, he was truly on his A game.
No, yeah. And when you mentioned about the movement, you and I have had the conversation about the job of the pitcher is to throw strikes, and he did that very well. His final punch out was of Masataka Yoshida on an 81.1 mile per hour curve. I mean, his His curveball was a wipeout weapon. And instead of nibbling or trying to dance around the zone, he attacked hitters. One of his first big swings and misses he got was a cutter that rose up. Actually, his first strikeout was a cutter that rose up in the zone. And when they showed the slow-mo replay, when you see the bat, it looks like it's about to hit the ball, and it's almost like the ball just took an elevator in, but it stayed in the zone. And that was a huge weapon for him. And mentally, that could carry him over the next few starts. Now, when you have a guy like this, though, Mike, you got to have to almost temper the expectations going forward, because every start's not going to be like this in 26.
Well, you also have to, I said the 96 pitches that I was surprised,
Right.
because you got to remember, he hasn't been on the mound in years. I mean, there hasn't.
He thanked Joe Espada for leaving him,
right.
for not
and,
him.
and I think, really what this situation is you just don't know what you're going to get. He was throwing the ball well. He didn't seem to be laboring there in the 7th inning. So go ahead and let him go out there. And this was easily the best start for any of the Astros starting pitchers so far in this short season, this first time through the rotation. Hunter Brown threw 90 plus pitches, but he did it in 4 2/3. Nobody had I don't think anybody had even gotten through 5 innings.
No.
And so, for him to go 7 innings, and they get Ryan Weiss in there, who he struggled a little bit his first time out. He threw the ball well, coming in relief of Lance McCullers Jr. So really, really good to see Lance on the mound. He has been through so much. Now, all the trials and tribulations he has been through, that can definitely make him more mentally tough going forward. Even though, he's had plenty of success in his career when he's been healthy, when you have all this water under the bridge, that makes your boat float very, very well.
Exactly. And, so what we're going to do in our last segment is we're going to tackle the topic of aces that have struggled, and when do fans need to be concerned that their guy might not be that guy every time out? Hello, everybody. It's tax season. I'm H-Town Wheelhouse, and look, here back to the bullpen, we want to make sure that you get the best bang for your buck. And we know that it's tax time, and it's the same thing every year. It's tough. You can try booking an appointment. That's not the most convenient. You can go sit in a waiting room if you like with a stack of papers. You can email back and forth and wonder if you're really going to get your situation taken care of. But this year, we're actually getting a major upgrade. We're getting you a major upgrade. The Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real person. And why do I want to do that? They're not just a real person. They're real tax experts, okay? They also take your documents, upload them straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve, while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing that your taxes are getting handled right. So head to turbotax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment today. All right, Mike. So let's get into it tonight. Locked On Astros, brought to you by the Locked On Network, the #1 sports podcasting network. I'm Brett Chansey, and he is Mike Stanton, 19-year Major League veteran, 3-time World Series champion. Mike has seen it. Mike has been on teams with aces. Mike has been on teams where he's had to follow aces on the mound. And so our attention turns to guys like Paul Skeens, who went out and had his worst outing of his career. Now, he hasn't been in the league a long time.
It was a bad one. It was a bad one.
It was a very bad one. 0.2 innings, 2/3 of an inning, 5 earnings, 37 pitches, brutal. But, not only him, and then also last night, Ranger Suarez had a rough start. His first impression, Boston, a lot of pressure, 8 earnings for him. The Astros jumped on him early. we, as we were sitting down and talking, Justin Verlander had been bounced from his
Yeah.
game. 6 earned runs, 5 hits. I mean, all these aces early on, Sonny
Right.
Gray, Logan Webb, Zach Wheeler, Garrett Crochet. Look, what's going on? Is there an epidemic of aces, or is this just, hey, first week of the season, there's not much to worry about?
Yeah, first thing I need you to do is take a deep breath,
Okay.
relax. There's nothing going on. What's happened in this first week is baseball. That's what happened. Every time Paul Skeens goes out there, he's not going to throw 7 shutout. It's not going to do it. His ERA last year was not 0. He did give up runs. He is still, arguably one of the top 2 or 3 best pitchers in all of baseball, even at the ripe old age of 23. It was just one of those things, and especially Paul Skeens. O'Neal Cruz didn't help him at all, misplaying 2 balls in center field.
Yeah.
And listen, the other guys, Logan Webb ran into a hot Yankees team. His offense didn't help him out. I think the Giants got shut out the first 2 games of the season and only scored one run in that 3-game series. To talk about somebody looking for a mulligan, the whole Giants team was looking for a mulligan. But yeah, all these guys, sometimes they're going to struggle. I'm surprised we're not hearing more from Pirates fans and baseball fans that Paul Skeens, the reason he was struggling was because he pitched for the USA team in the WBC. I'm surprised we're not hearing more of that. I guess if he continues to struggle, maybe we will. But everybody's just got to take a deep breath and relax. The small sample size is about as small as you can possibly get because most of these guys, it's 1. Or all these guys, it's only 1 start.
Yeah.
So, somebody has to be the voice of reason and keep everyone from towing up to the ledge to jump off. It's just not. We'll just have to wait and see how things are going. You have to remember, Major League general managers, they don't really take a good hard look at their team until mid-May. They want to see. They want to build some data. They want them to be a bigger sample size before you really start looking into possibly making changes. The first week, it's always, listen, we're all fans, and what is fans short for? Fanatics. So we all overreact, but we have to just stay calm and let these guys work things out.
So what you're saying is baseball fans' favorite hitter is not going to post a 560 batting average with 80 home runs.
Probably not. I mean, that would all – hey, you know what? It would be a great storyline all the way through the summer to have somebody set records like that.
Right.
But, yeah,
that would be so fun.
You got to curb your enthusiasm just a little bit, both positively and negatively.
No, definitely. It was just interesting because I thought the Pirates Mets matchup that first opening series, that opening game, Freddie Peralta, Paul Skeens, I thought that was a great matchup.
Yeah, neither one of them pitched well.
and so look at and I didn't even think. See, I didn't even let that creep into my mind, the World Baseball Classic thing. Now I'm starting to wonder. Darn you, World Baseball Classic.
Even though it was awesome. It was awesome.
So
was a home run.
So basically, you're saying it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be okay.
Listen, I'm not trying to predict the future. I'm just saying you got to let these guys. They are still human. There are going to be times that they hang sliders and they get hit out of the ballpark. Just like look what Aaron Judge did opening day. This is arguably the best hitter in all of baseball when you look at everything, power, average. Dude hit 330 last year, and the Yankees score 8 runs, and he took the golden sombrero. He struck out 4 times out of 5 at-bats. So, you know what? What's the old T-shirt used to say from Forrest Gump? You know what happens?
It happens. That's right. Also, I heard a quote. I was looking at different pitchers talking about their outings and stuff, and even someone like Tatsuya Imai in Houston said that he couldn't believe that hitters were hitting the baseball back at him at 100+ miles an hour. He wasn't used to that.
Right.
And the reason why I bring that up is because I think people a lot of times forget how difficult baseball is and how it's not just a plug and play. Oh, you're the ace, you're going to have success. You're the Aaron Judge, you're the home run hitter, you're going to always be. Even Barry Bonds, when at the height of his career, was still vulnerable because they're all human. So storylines will build at their own pace. The aces, the stars will get their druthers. They will have their success. What makes a difference, though, Mike, and I want to make this point in a Major League Baseball season, is not the stars performing because they're going to perform. It's the supporting cast and what they do to sustain, not getting too high and not getting too low.
It's a good point. I mean, we go back to the Aaron Judge situation where he struck out 4 times on opening day. The team won 8-0. They didn't need him that day. So the supporting cast did everything they could do for the team to win, and they did just that. You were talking about aces, and those of us that are Astros fans, we have a very soft spot in our heart for Justin Verlander. Not an ace anymore, but still going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, still can be a very good pitcher. But if you remember what he did last year with the Giants, he kind of stunk it up the first half. And it was the second half that he really righted the ship. The last 16 starts, pitched very well. So, is this one of those same situations? We'll have to wait and see what he does in his next couple starts, but didn't have a great night last night, pitching, back with the Tigers for the first time in several years.
No, yeah, he went 3 2/3 innings pitched. He gave up 6 hits, 5 earned runs, 5 walks. He gave up.
Were they in Detroit?
2. I'm sorry, 5 earned runs, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. No, they're actually at Chase Field. They are playing the Arizona Diamondbacks.
The Diamondbacks. Okay, so he was
right.
Because I was thinking maybe they were in Detroit, and being back up in the cold weather, but that one goes out the window because they were in a covered stadium.
I have a counter to the World Baseball Classic argument. You remember Mike Soroka in the World Baseball Classic?
I do.
Well, 5 innings, 4 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts. So
but he didn't. They didn't last long. He was Team Canada, and by the way, he threw the ball very well. I was really, really impressed with how he went. And you want to talk about a guy that's been through the ringer? Oh my goodness, that poor guy. And he's changed the way he pitches. He still has when he was young, heavy sinker ball, and still has the sinker, but now he lets the 4-seamer ride. I was very impressed with the outing I saw from him in the WBC, and then he was able to back that up tonight, last night, throwing the ball well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, all season long. I think this season is ripe with like storylines. There's not going to be just one storyline. And even if you have someone like the Dodgers who haven't lost a game yet in this early season, they still have only scored half the runs that those that are leading in runs.
Sure.
You have the Brewers and the Nationals who have scored 31 runs each. The Astros have scored 30. The Dodgers have scored 16. The Yankees have scored 18 runs going into their 4th game in their first 3 games. So at the end of the day, it's going to be about you and I and all the fans having stamina in the season. And throughout the season, let's make the case and let's try to influence this offseason and tell baseball that they need to stick around and not have a work stoppage, because baseball is more popular than it's ever been, Mike.
There's no doubt. After the WBC, after what we've seen at this first week of baseball, this is going to be a common theme all the way through this season. And I'm always trying to take the high road. I want to believe that cooler, calmer minds are going to prevail and figure out that there's no reason. They can figure this out. Keep the players on the field, keep everything happy, and keep growing this sport.
No, yeah, definitely. And we're definitely going to be excited to come back to you on the next day, because the next show we are going to talk about the short kings in Major League Baseball. And we're also going to talk about what narratives we see coming down the road. Thank y'all for tuning in Back to the Bullpen. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you follow Back to the Bullpen podcast as well, Locked On MLB. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Back to the Bullpen ad-free, plus members only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer. And for those of you on video, we send you to the first 24/7 Locked On Podcast Network on YouTube, on audio for your second listen. Go check out Locked On MLB. For myself, from Mike Stanton, and everybody here at Back to the Bullpen, y'all have a good one. And you know what? Play ball.
Adios.